Every society bears a fundamental responsibility to care for its citizens, to build systems that ensure their safety, provision, and protection. Yet, despite the best planning, life remains unpredictable. Natural disasters, accidents, and emergencies strike often without warning, leaving behind loss, displacement, and destruction. In Nigeria, one agency stands at the forefront of preparing for the unforeseen: the National Emergency Management Agency, or NEMA. Tasked with coordinating disaster response and building national resilience, NEMA plays a critical role in safeguarding lives and livelihoods. Today, we sit down with the Director General of NEMA, Mrs. Zubaida Umar, to unpack the agency's mission, the challenges it faces, and the innovations shaping Nigeria's emergency preparedness. DG, thank you for having us in your office.
Thank you very much.
I would like us to start with an understanding of the mandate of the National Emergency Management Agency.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome to the National Emergency Management Agency. The NEMA was created from an act of the National Emergency Management Agency Act of 1999, and our main role is to coordinate emergencies. The agency leads national disaster preparedness, mitigation, and responses as well. So we're the body that coordinates both man-made and natural disasters. Wherever there's a disaster, National Emergency Management Agency of Nigeria steps in to take care of that.
Okay, you've been DG about a year, over a year now.
Yes.
How has it been heading the agency?
Well, yes, I was appointed DG in March 2024, and so far it's been a huge honor and also a serious responsibility to lead this agency. My main focus has been on preparedness, coordination, and preparedness, just like I mentioned earlier on. And some of the priority areas for me have been people, in terms of responding to whenever there's a disaster. Our first reaction is how many lives are we able to save? So it's all about preparedness and starting things early. The next would be speed. I take speed very, very seriously because the amount of time you get to respond really matters in any disaster. Those have been some of the things that we've been doing. Also systems. We've been building training protocols. We've been having several sensitizations. I'm sure you must have seen quite a lot of it on media, both social media and also media. So yes, it's been quite fulfilling so far, and it's a job that requires a lot of empathy.
I would like viewers at home, sometimes you at home, you do not appreciate how other people's lives are. Mm-hmm. So when you say it appears you are almost like ambulance, you are almost on standby every time.
Yes.
So for you, there's no Saturday, Sunday.
There's none. For me, there's none. I come to work. We're at work, we close, and like I told you, once I go every single evening, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, by 6 o'clock, I'm receiving updates. That is if I have closed from work. Normally, we work late hours. You don't close from this type of job. And then over the weekends, from 6 a.m. all through till 10 p.m. at night, we're getting constant updates. Every state is sending in their reports to let you know if anything has happened.
Okay, so if you were to paint for us now, let's use a typical, I think the one that happened, the rail issue that happened recently. Using that as an example, give us how it played out.
So that's a brilliant example. Recently, when the train got derailed, I was actually at a program. When we got information, the radio messages started coming through to say that something like that happened. And my first reaction...
Sorry, please. I'm going to interrupt you. I just want us to have a very clear... When you say the radio message came in, it got to your contact person in that, or...
No, I carry my radio around.
No, I'm talking of the person that called you.
Yes. It was our staff from the Abuja operations office that said they had heard that something like that happened, but were not exactly sure at that moment in time. Beautiful. And the first reaction was to step out and have a discussion to say, can we confirm what exactly happened? And the moment we got confirmation, we quickly contacted military, because we have disaster response units across the country. And that was why I told you that it's a coordinating body. And once disaster strikes, we contact our DRUs and they're able to quickly begin to mobilize to respond. So from the fire services to the military to the civil defense, everybody is part of our DRUs. And that was exactly what happened. So I stepped out of my program and was busy chatting on the radio with them. I confirmed that military had already been mobilized. But I just couldn't go back to continue that program. I recall clearly that I was wearing my normal office shoes. I got into the car because we were trying to mobilize from Abuja to get to the place which was closer to Kaduna State at that point in time. And I got into the car. And remember that I could only get bathroom slippers because I had my heels. And on that particular day, unfortunately, my boots were out of the car. So we got there, and by the time we got there, military had started evacuation, but our ambulances were also on ground, and we met the police, and everybody was out there. We had surveillance also, and we were able to treat, like the guy, the driver of that train, we treated him there on site. He was in a bit of panic and all. So those are the type of things. We work 24/7.
Okay, I'm interested in the point you were trying to make about the I've forgotten what you call them, response unit?
Yes, disaster response units.
DRU.
DRUs,
yes. But you also say that you have, it appears, a coordination point with other arms of the country, police, soldiers.
Yes, yes.
So are these on standby too? Those are constant?
Yes, they are. And what we do is we have coordination forums almost on a quarterly basis. It all depends. When the floods start, we have more regular and constant coordination forums. Purpose being, we come together to sit and assign roles for every person so that we know how to respond when disasters happen. So whenever you see that an emergency happens and you see the military, you see police, you see civil defense, it's all the partnership. Going back to the train issue as well, on that particular day, we also had National Hospital, for example, because we were expecting a very large scale. And we knew that our ambulances alone, like I always tell people, there's no single body that can handle disasters. It's not possible. You would have to coordinate, and that is what it is all over the world. So we go all out together to get things done. On that particular train incident, the military were just a few meters away from, so they were able to quickly get there. And they also provided security for us by the time we got to the scene of the accident.
Well, I think this is very, for me, it's interesting to note that we have such structures in place. But what are, in your own line of work and coordinating from the federal, what are your expectations of the state and the local government?
Yes, so like I always promote, and we've done a lot of that, the State Emergency Management Agency should be the immediate responder. Don't forget, you have your local emergency management committees. Yes. When all disasters are local. So when a disaster strikes in a particular community, the local community should be able to respond first. Why? I spoke about speed, I spoke about manpower. The more time you waste, the more lives you lose. So there should be local emergency management committees. Then when it overpowers them, it moves to the State Emergency Management Agency. When it gets to the State Emergency Management Agency, then it gets to National Emergency Management Agency. So those are the 3 steps for you to be able to respond to disasters. Now, what we've been able to achieve is to sensitize the subnationals, to insist that you have to have local emergency management committees. And in a case like Mokwa, that recently happened, the floods, yes, we were there on ground less than 24 hours before then. Now, getting to Mokwa became a problem because the roads were totally closed. So now collaboration came in again. We contacted Air Force and other places, and we were able to mobilize and get into Mokwa before the people that were on the roads. And we got there, but the communities also played important roles. So we joined them, we were a part of it, and we were able to bring it to a close.
I like the word you used. You said should. But you are the one responsible for the management of emergency in the country. What would you say is the state of our federal network right now for efficient, prompt what was it? One of the things you said you want to swift or speed.
Yes, speed.
What would you say you would like to see more of in that? Would I call it network?
Mm-hmm. So I'd like to see more of coordination. That's, sometimes when accidents happen, when disasters happen, we all run into a state of frenzy, and we find that the duplication of efforts. Yes. So that is why I mentioned the issue of coordination forums. What we do before the flood starts, we have our coordination forums. When they start, you saw Maiduguri. Maiduguri played out very well because the military were on top of their game. They had the vehicles. So when we had quite a few, they could come in and assist us in that. So more of these coordination forums will help us so that we're able to assign roles and responsibilities, and we don't work at cross purposes. Now, having said that, we've been doing quite a lot of that. All the programs we do, we carry them along. Same way that we recently had simulation exercises in about 5 states because of the issue of floods and boat mishaps. And what we were able to do, most importantly, was to get to the local communities to insist that, listen, you need to be on top of your game. Those life jackets are a must. You have to wear your life jacket. Safety comes first. This issue of overloading needs to stop. We involved NEMA. We involved all the military agencies so that everybody's on top of their game and we know exactly what we need to do when such disasters strike.
Okay, so I'm happy you mentioned the issue of floods. We've been having that recently, and luckily it looks like this year we didn't have any much. Yes, but in such situations, prevention also comes in. How are we doing in that regard?
I'm glad that you said it's not as bad as last year. I think that people are beginning to heed to advice. We did quite a lot of that. So around March, we were able to get the annual flood outlook and also the seasonal climate prediction from both NIMET and NISA. And this gives you the exact predictions so that you're aware of what is coming. And what we did, immediately we got those predictions, we took it and ran with it. We've been to each and every state of the Federation, and we've sensitized state governments. We've written to the state governors a couple of times to insist that, listen, these floods are coming. We know the location. We went ahead and did a country risk hazard analysis where we were able to map out down to local governments. So let's stay aware. Let's know that the rains are coming. Let's prepare. We went to the extent of saying, can you show us your higher grounds so that we're well prepared in case this happens. We also harped on the issue of sanitation and kept advising states, can we reintroduce monthly sanitation? Because when you look at a lot of states, you see that drainages are blocked. And once you see those blocked drainages, you know that they're prone to floods, yes. So all those things, we kept writing reminders, and then we decided to move down to local communities to go to traditional rulers. We also went down to religious leaders just to advocate. And it really helped us. You can see that everybody is aware. Even the issues of state emergency management, everyone is becoming aware. So it's really paying.
But if you were to give us like a look right now, where would you say, what percentage would you say we are now in terms of the network?
What network are you referring
I'm talking of the preparedness from the state to the local government, what you'd like to see for the country. Mm-hmm. If you look at what we have now, state-wise, local government-wise, are we at the place we should be? If we're not, what percentage are we at?
We're actually not where we should be. Really, we're not. As at 3 months ago, there was one state that did not have a state emergency management agency. However, we just inaugurated that a month ago. And for the local emergency management committees, a lot of states did not have that either. And that is where the issue of sensitization comes in. So we're able to get a couple of states to also inaugurate their local emergency management committees. Now, what we did was, rather than just leave it to the state government, we decided to be a part of it. So we would go sit with you, get your members, inaugurate them, and come out of it. So we're not yet there, but we're really getting there. Now, I'll give you an example. When I talk about local emergency management committees, I'll give you the example of local divers. We got to the extent of engaging local divers to say, listen, when this strikes. So I remember when we went for our simulation exercises, they brought to my attention that some people were commenting that, well, why were we using canoes for simulation? And I said, listen, that's because we've gone down to what it is that they use, what they know. And you'd be amazed at how much the local divers and the local boat drivers also know the terrain. They know the terrain so well. So what we did was to go down to those villages. The one we had in Kano was in Wudil, for example, and everybody came out. They were all excited. And we taught them how to listen. When you see your brother drowning, you go out there before state or federal arrives, you're able to do a lot for your people. So we still have a lot of work to do in terms of that coordination, but we've gone quite far. We recently had a program in Lagos State that had all the state emergency management agencies, and it was a very successful program because they were able to tell us what their issues were, what their challenges were, and we sat, did our communique, and we're still working on it.
I'm happy you mentioned the issue of the local. Because when we get down to it, the first responders are usually the people by the side. And I don't know if Nigerians are actually, they've been primed to appreciate that they are also and could be first responders. I don't know if if there's anything done in that line.
Yes, that is, I had mentioned earlier the issue of going down to the communities. Now, what we're also doing is engaging youth corps members.
Oh.
Yes, we're engaging them, and then we're encouraging volunteers to liaise with the local emergency management committees. And we're willing to offer our trainings so that everybody knows that disaster is everybody's business and you cannot see your brother drowning and you walk away. I actually saw a clip of an accident that happened somewhere in the FCT, and I was so impressed by what I saw. Nobody was standing there to record. All they were after was how to rescue the people that were part of that accident. And that is what a first responder should do. You're passing, if there's a medical doctor anywhere, you can stop and provide assistance. And that was exactly what I saw. That was community at work. You saw that partnership, you saw the bond.
Are you doing anything to also help? Because I know sometimes Nigerians help, but when they get to the hospital and all that, those challenges of whether are you the one who did it, and that also make people not to respond. Is there any way your agency is helping out in that regard?
Well, we have partnerships with quite a couple of these hospitals, Maitama here, clinics, the general. We have partnerships with them, and once we move it, I know that issue of stigmatization is there. When you take it, people worry, should we be able to? But I think those things are changing, and those are some of the discussions that we have when we come to sit. Like I told you, for the train incidents that we had in National Hospital, we keep encouraging them that you need to be able to accept everyone because time is money.
Okay, let me focus on, before I lose my train of thought, I wanted to find out from you, the states. I liked the way you spoke about your own structure and system here. You have radios, you have checks, timely checks, and you try to keep your people in readiness before something happens. And I'm sure that's what you're trying to build or trying to see at the state level, at the local. This takes funding. What has been the response of state governments to some of this? Because they need to replicate that at that level.
So far, so good. I was at a presentation, and a lot of the state governors were there. And majority appeared very positive, and you can see that there's a difference. Like I told you, before the flood started, we had written to the states to specifically request for their higher grants. We had also requested specifically that they need to stockpile something. They have to also play a role, which they did. A lot of the states responded saying, this is our location. We personally went and checked it out to be sure that it is an environment that we can move people when it happens. And a lot of the states also stockpiled to say, okay, just in case it happens, we're here too. Of course, some of the disasters come without you knowing. The most important thing is being prepared. And like I said, a lot of awareness is being created. So yes, the state governments are actually responding. We're not where we should be, but we're getting there.
Okay, now before we leave the agency, because I'm really interested in how you are running this place. One of the criticisms I think that has been with NEMA has been the issue of transparency, ensuring that goods or equipment or whatever relief materials that come get to the people that should need it. What has been your finding since you came, and what have you been working with?
Yes, well, before I came, that was what I was told too. The issue of transparency and how distribution goes. So from the time I've come on board, before we do anything in terms of responding, I always tell people, NEMA is not a palliative agency. The moment that you see us respond, when we go for search and rescue, that is our first step to intervention. And you shouldn't expect that for each and every, it's almost automatic. Before I came, it was more or less like, yes, let's write to NEMA, you're going to get food stuff. No. The moment that we're out there from January till date, sensitizing you, warning you, telling you things, that is the first step in terms of intervention. Now, after that, anything that happens, we are on ground.
Well, sorry, I need to get that. You know that I don't think that ever came to me that there is a before.
Exactly.
I think to a lot of people, you people come when the thing occurs.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's not what it is, and that is what I've been trying to do since I came to the agency, for us to look at NEMA from a different perspective. The moment I'm out there sensitizing the general public to tell them, listen, the floods are coming, that is step one. We're out there, we're preempting before it comes. And it's about building resilience, and that's how you build resilience. When you hear food is coming into the equation, it means it has happened, you're in recovery stage. Now, the second step is when you see our officers and men out there doing their search and rescue, going out there to assist, to evacuate, to do things, that is number two. We're already on ground and we're doing that. And if it's going to take us 3 days to be on ground to do it, we will be there till it's concluded. Now, after that, we come and sit and say, okay, it's only in cases where you have emergencies that would occur, maybe a tanker explosion, you move in immediately with your drugs or you set in camps, and that is immediate. But aside that, for things that have happened and we get into recovery mode, we carry out assessments. And NEMA does not carry out its assessments alone. That is my rule. We do our assessments with state emergency management agencies because you are the locals. You know where the location is. You know what the problem is. So you have to be there to carry out those assessments. Now, we do that with Red Cross as well. We do it with civil defense. So it's a whole team that goes out to assess the situation, to know the number of houses that were damaged. And then we come back, and based on that, we process to see what we can do to assist that community. Now, again, once we have those items to give them, when we go out to distribute, it's the same thing. And I do not accept figures that are not triangulated. When I came, I met a bit of conflict when it comes to figures. You know, Red Cross would be saying a different number. SEMA is saying a different number. We're saying a different number. But then we were all on site together. So the rule now is whatever disaster strikes, we all have to agree and sign. We count the number of body bags, for example. These are the bodies. You're not reducing, you're not inflating. Let's agree before you leave that site, you need to send me a signed report. And once they're done with their assessments, I get that report within the next 10 minutes. It's sent onto my phone, so I check and see. So in terms of distribution, we carry every person along. It's no longer business as usual that you would go by yourself. No. SEMA has to be there. Red Cross has to be there. Civil defense, police, everybody has to play a role. So we count and we see. And then I insist on pictorial evidence. If I'm not there to see, I want to see the beneficiaries, and I also want a list of names to know.
Okay, so in terms of how the agency works, how have you found leading the agency?
Yes, we've had tremendous support from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it's been quite rewarding. You know, each time that we're able, in terms of humanitarian support, we've had tremendous support from the presidency, and that is what has enabled us to be able to achieve what we have achieved so far.
And also with other agencies, I think you've found a way to work with many people and achieve.
Oh, yes,
appears from what you're saying.
Yes, we work with so many agencies, and we can't be more grateful to all our DRUs, you know, the police, the hospital systems. They've been quite supportive. There's no way we would have done it alone. But most importantly, the support we've received from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been tremendous, and it has really assisted NEMA. and we look forward to more support.
We were on the issue of transparency, your efforts to see how we can ensure that the days of the past where there were perceptions of issues with accountability is no more in NEMA. You were now talking about the issue of distribution.
Yes.
Yes.
So when we go out to distribute now, we do it with verifiable data.
Okay.
And like I told you, it's really triangulated. Every person is a part of it, from the state government to the local communities to NEMA to the NSCDC police. Everyone is involved in distribution. So it's not a one-man show. You can't.
Give us an example, because I think I remember from the Mokwa one.
Yes.
Where it appeared some people who were not part of those affected also now came forward. That do you have such incidents much?
Yes, not much,
okay.
But you do have them.
Okay.
So what we do is, when it's a camp, I saw that play out a lot last year with the floods.
Yes.
So when it's a camp, we go to the camp late at night, and we're able to do a head count, and every person comes in to register, and then we lock that camp and move away, so that at the crack of dawn, you know that you quickly need to rush. So we were asking them to stay in their camps because we're coming to give something. Because what we found out was some would move from their camps and come to the next one and come and collect that. So what we've started doing is to insist on recording names, and then we were even giving tags. So you would have your number. So when we come to call, we would call you with that number, and you come forward, get your stuff, and you go back.
In this sort of emergencies, and I think if I remember clearly, you had started with the before, during. How does it round up?
Now, at the end of the day, when we normally have timelines depending on the devastation, and we would always encourage that we need to do the right thing so that we're able to move people back to their communities. We recently had one in Kaduna State, and with those floods, we had to open a couple of camps, and they were there. The state government was extremely supportive. We were able to keep them for very few days, and then we moved them back to their homes. Now, when they're going back, mostly you would have food items to give them, and then we come back to try and do a post-disaster needs assessment to see how you can assist some of these people. In places like Sokoto, where this devastation happened, you're able to even give roofing sheets, for example, for them to rebuild. So the purpose is for people to be able to rebuild, resettle, and go back to their communities.
Okay, so on the issue of flood, and I'm happy you mentioned the issue of last year, this year. Was it the prediction was the same, and it was our response that was different?
The predictions were not, yes, almost the same, because this year the prediction said 33 states were at risk of these alerts. And but if you see the number of displacement and the persons affected, there's a drastic reduction compared to last year. Unfortunately, last year we had the Borno incidents that really raised the numbers, and the Mokwa as well. No, Mokwa was this year.
Oh, Mokwa was this year?
Yes, Mokwa was this year. Last year was Borno that got the numbers high. This year you had places like Adamawa, Taraba. They had quite a huge, but the numbers were, and that's because of, you would see a lot of precaution was taken this year. It's quite impressive when you see them move. You know, a lot of state governments were showcasing how they were opening up their drainages, how people were being warned all the time. And sometime last year, you would find communities that were resisting. They would not move. No matter what you did, they would tell you, we've been here all our lives, we're not. But a lot of people agreed to move in good time this year.
Okay, so and that's largely to your efforts and the state government.
Yes.
What role do civil society play in this? And
they play quite a major role, because they're also part of advocacy, for example. And then, of course, we have partnerships with UN systems as well. Whenever we're doing anything, especially in terms of policy making, they're a part of us. We're a team. We work together. And a lot of advocacy is going on from the civil organizations as well. So, yes.
Do you think we can use this year to say we now seem to have a framework that can help us have less of this sort of issues in the years to come?
Yes, we're still building those frameworks. Like when we started this year, we had about 5 strategic objectives, and we ensured that everybody keyed into it, from the state governments to the civil societies as well. We actually had a forum where we all sat together to say, listen, these are our objectives. We're thinking of first step, creating awareness so that people know it's coming, all the way to the issue of even stockpiling by the state governments and also the federal government. We had those objectives, and I think to a large extent we're able to abide by these objectives, and it has really helped us. It's making life easier, and I think we're beginning to see the difference. Yes, we do have a framework, we're getting there, and we're becoming stronger. For each outing, we come back actually to do a lessons learned.
Oh,
yes, we do a lessons learned exercise so that we're able to sit and like I told you, the one we recently had in Lagos, it was more of a lessons learned exercise where every state emergency management agency could come in and say, these are my issues, how can you help us? And we decided from that gathering that we would be having that on a quarterly basis. So now when they go back, they're also asking questions, why are we where we are? Because when you come and you have a table of 37 states and the FCT, and then you see that they're high-flying performers, and then when you look at your state, and then you know there's something wrong with you. And you'll realize that a lot of them didn't even know some of their responsibilities. So we're really getting there.
When you sit, and I'm sure you also partake in international gatherings where some of these issues are discussed, what do you think is our one major challenge we have to address to get ourselves to where we should be in preparedness?
Coordination. I would say that I see that as a major challenge. Duplication of roles and responsibilities. And if we're able to coordinate better, the sky will be our limit. You know, I keep saying it, when you're just an onlooker and looking at it, you don't know how much goes into preparedness, but a lot goes into it. And when you see it, you would be really, really impressed. Now, not just from the National Emergency Management Agency. This year alone, I think we've had 2 simulation exercises to different, in fact, when we come to do those simulation exercises, which the military does a lot, we were able to see how different scenarios can play. It's not just about floods or droughts, no, different types of disasters that can happen. And from that, you're able to see how to respond, what needs to be done, at what stage do we need to. So if we're able to get that right, we will achieve so much. It is only when you're in disaster mode that you realize that coordination is really important. When you're running helter-skelter and you see that, you pick up your phone and say, my truck is not working, or my truck is not sufficient. Can I get a truck? And you just see military rolling in with like 10. You know, as I keep saying, sometimes I get goosebumps. When you get that type of support, it is so important and real for you to be able to do that. So we're getting there, but I would say coordination is the major challenge.
And when you say coordination, you're talking at all levels?
At all levels.
Between
subnational to the national level, also between organizations.
Agencies.
Yes.
And you know that during a crisis, when everybody is trying to help, it can also be a time when everybody gets into each other's ways.
Oh yeah. When you see it in place, when you realize that there's a lot of shouting that goes on, and then one person is getting into the other person. And it's not just to manage disasters, you do a lot of mental support as well, because you're dousing the tension of the affected persons, and at the same time, you're also trying to play the role of the coordinator. Yes.
Okay. We're having more disasters, it appears. Building collapse, boat halves, tanker fires. How are you coping with this increase?
Yes, for the issue of tanker explosions that we've been having, and also the boat mishaps, they've been on the rise, I know, but I had mentioned earlier that we're in partnership with agencies like NEMA, and what it is mostly preventive. Like I always say, when you look at it, it's the issue of overload or lack of use of life jackets.
Yes.
And we've had one in Sokoto and in Niger as well this year. And we've taken that also as a lesson, and we've been promoting the idea of you need to play safe. You need to play safe. And I think in Sokoto State we had 2 within the same month. And though we're able to rescue some, unfortunately we lost some. But it's the issue of us being proactive and insisting on the need to do the right thing. And so far, we've worked quite well. Even in terms of search and rescue, we worked well with NEMA for us to be able to achieve that. Now, on the issue of tanker explosions as well, and what we did was to actually go out and do sensitizations. We were out on the streets everywhere to get them to do the right thing and know that. And they also have a challenge with roads sometimes,
Yes.
like the one that happened in Mina, around that depot, yes. The road had no shoulder, and unfortunately the tanker tipped. And then this major issue of wanting to scoop fuel when it happens. And as I always say, all disasters are local. We need to help ourselves. We really need to. So everybody needs to be aware. We're all responders. We all have a role to play. We have no business saying we're going to scoop fuel when a tanker tips, because the likelihood of it exploding is really, really high.
When you say we are all, if you were to be able to talk to Nigerians now, what message would you want to pass to them on that issue of all of us being first responders?
My message to Nigerians is we are all responders, big, small. That is why everywhere you go across the world, we're teaching children how to dial 911. We're teaching children what to do. We're teaching CPR. And we've also started doing that here in NEMA, by the way. We've been to several secondary schools just to teach them first aid, so that when it happens, you know what you're meant to do before help comes. Help does not come in miraculous ways. There's time spent for you to arrive at scene. But when you have that first aid skills or abilities that have been taught right from school, then you know that we'll be able to save many more lives. So disaster is everybody's business.
Some of the issues you raised are beyond the scope of the people. You mentioned the issue of, like, for instance, building collapse. That has nothing to do with the people. The issue of tanker driver, the road. I think that incident that happened in Mina. Another one happened not long after, and I'm told luckily that didn't turn into a fire. But how do you do when you observe that the issues, like you did with NEWA, the issues are not with the people only? The people also have to do with government infrastructure. And how do you handle those cases?
And so when you say, it's not exactly correct to say it's not people, because you just spoke of building collapse.
Yes.
And a lot of times it's lack of adherence to building codes.
True,
yes,
true.
So that is a man-made disaster.
Yes.
You can see it, it's obvious. And then where do they get the approvals from as well? You find out that there was one site we were at last year in a particular state, and the whole area had nothing like a plan, and you could just come in and build. And this happened to be, there was a school located around that area. So of course you can imagine the devastation. So that is also man-made in terms of not adhering to building codes and
Yes.
building everywhere. And then yes, when it comes to government as well, we should be able to adhere to proper building codes so that we prepare and we know we're safe. But most of the times when you see these building collapses, we normally don't have earthquakes. So you know it has to do with the integrity of that particular
Yes.
building. So that we can help ourselves. And yes, we're also, we work with those type of agencies. Normally, whenever things like that happen, we have reports that we write. Yes, we write to
I
the
think
relevant
that's
authorities.
the part I'm coming to.
Yes.
If we come to a road now, like I said, we have that road, and it's clear this is a route that tankers always pass, and this could be a recurring. Is it that you get across to the state to tell them, look, we've noticed this, we don't want to be coming here and doing emergency, so please can you do something about this? That's what I'm wondering. Do you give advisories?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So for most disasters that, like the building collapses we have in states,
Yes.
we try to approach the state urban development through the state emergency management agency. So after they occur, we normally write reports. Like all the mishaps that we've had, we've written to NEWA Transport, we've also written to them to say we think we need to take care of so and so and so. Yes, we do.
Okay, let me take you now on the issue of the agency itself. I remember you said from the act came into being 1999. Between then and now, has there been any legal amendments or making the laws better?
Yes, there's a proposed amendment right now at the National Assembly. 1999 is quite old. So we've been trying to see how we can update the systems. And This act also talks about the state emergency management agencies and what they also need to do to play their own roles, and the local emergency management committees. So yes, it's at the National Assembly and we're awaiting this to be passed.
Do you have any, what do I call it, partnership with international agencies?
Yes, we do. We work with UN, OCHA. We have an emergency operations center.
Okay.
And what we do is we get real-time information on a daily basis. Every 2 hours, we're updating our systems from all disasters that are happening across the country. So we have a dashboard.
Wow.
Yes, now, so when you go to that room, you'll see that we have staff of OCHA. They're seated there. You also have staff of civil defense. You have military, you have Air Force. So we're all together working on this particular thing. And we also do a lot of partnerships in terms of training, capacity building. We do it with JICA. We do it with JICA, UN, OCHA, the UN system in general. Yes, we work together closely, hand in hand.
So from what you're saying now, you have people on ground feeding that dashboard?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, we do. You'll take a look at it before you leave.
Okay.
We actually do. So what happens is our territorial offices send those updates. I told you about assessments earlier on. So as we are assessing the situation, they're feeding us with the information and we're updating.
Oh, nice.
So this happens, it's real time.
And that's something we should hope to build at lower levels.
Yes, we intend to replicate that exactly all the way, so that we stop having these issues of data collation and we know that there's a particular body that is in charge of all data in terms of disasters. And again, when they have that system replicated, it will be much easier for us all to, instead of sending our men daily to go and check, the states can feed us.
Yes, and there's that partnership that works for the country. From your seat right now, if you look at the country and understanding from the mandate you've been given, what are you hoping? What will you use to say this pass mark for you? What would you like to see that will give you satisfaction that yes, this is, I'm making a headway in this agency in disaster management in Nigeria?
I would say transformative leadership. I'd like to look back and see that we've been able to make a lot of changes, not just for the country, but internally as a system. I think we're getting there. Our system is really improving. We're digitalizing, of course. Not just digitalizing, but also the issue of turnaround time, where we're able to respond. Speed means a lot to me. And where we're able to respond in a timely manner. And most importantly, I'd like to see a Nigeria where resilience is truly built, where we're able to withstand whatever will come our way and we're prepared before it comes our way.
You've spent a lot of time in Nigeria's civil service. You've worked across a lot of agencies. How do you deal with the perception that you sometimes get from Nigerians that it appears our civil service is not what it should be?
Completely untrue. Why do I say that? Because it's only when you try it that you would know. I can clearly tell you that when I got to NEMA, I met very seasoned hands, people with a lot of information, people that are extremely capable and are always on the move. Like I told you, those radios that I talk about, and then when you see the platform that we have, you know, the level of dedication is really, really unbelievable. So sometimes that also comes from the leadership. When you're able to push a little bit, you're able to see amazing results. So once you use the public service properly, it will really, really work for you.
And do you think we have them where we need?
Oh yes, you have very, very brilliant officers. You cannot take that away from the civil service. Like you said, I've worked in quite a number of places, and when you find a seasoned, honest, and disciplined civil servant, you'll be amazed at the level of knowledge that comes to play.
So, I don't know, your last word for us now on what we should be expecting from the agency going forward.
Rapid response, better coordinated response and timely response, I would say, and a lot of preparedness. You're going to see a lot of us in terms of preparedness, getting people to do the right thing, advocacy, a lot of advocacy will continue to be built because we've seen the results from last year to this year, how the changes, and it's interesting how you're walking past and someone sees you and just points out from being attacked at every program we're attending to say, we did not see you, we did not, but this role of insisting that everybody has a role to play, we all need to do something, and the efficiency is unbelievable. So NEMA, you would see better trained staff and better response.
While we keep on praying that we will not see more need for emergency, as it is our prayer, but it would be nice to know that we have an agency that is trying to put in place a response system that if it does occur. We'd like to thank you, DG, for the time you spent with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As one powerful quote reminds us, disasters test the strength of our systems, but they also reveal the strength of our solidarity. End of quote. Because when it comes to emergency response, it truly is everybody's business. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's discussion. Share your views, reactions, and questions. Our social media handles and email address are right there on your screen. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, head over to our YouTube channel. Just search for Newsnight, click on the playlist, and take your pick. Thank you for being there and being part of the conversation. Till next time, stay safe, stay informed, and bye.